Thank you very much. So I'm going to give you some food for thoughts. First of all, thanks a lot for sharing that with us. I mean, this factory of the future, I mean, this is terrific. This is fabulous. I just love it. This shows actually exactly where we need to go to. It's about what and how can the technology augment the human beings, support us, and I will drive you through some of more examples. But let me start with the first.
Self-driving cars can just be programmed to stay in the middle and accelerate simultaneously. They'll just do it. The more self-driving cars at an intersection, the more efficient the intersection gets. A solid lane of self-driving cars vastly increases throughput. Actually, if you ban humans from the road, which we should totally do anyway, you can get rid of the intersection entirely. After all, a traffic light is just a tool for drivers on one road to communicate with drivers on another, poorly and coarsely. Red equals don't go now, we are coming through the intersection. Green equals good to go. But self-driving cars can talk to each other at the speed of light. With that kind of coordination, no traffic light necessary. Just as with a highway, the best intersection is no intersection. Humans will never drive this precisely. At the intersection, the fundamental problem with traffic that you watch unfold, as with everything, is people. So the real simple solution to traffic is no more monkeys driving cars.
We just saw another example also. There's a huge potential. And one of the most important things is that, and I'm going to refer more and more about this factory of the future we just saw, because this is just really showing all the potential that we have in one single industry. All things are sensing, all things are connected, all things are intelligence, and even more and more. This is what brings us to a lot of data. Now, the data itself doesn't really give us the value. It depends what we're doing out of that. It's about our creativity. Where is the potential of the business? And there is a huge potential. And it doesn't really matter whether these numbers are right or wrong. The fact is, there is a tremendous potential. And it's really important that we get up and make sure that we're not once in the morning going to stand on the wrong tectonic plate when the tectonic shift is coming. We have a lot of challenges. As mentioned, there is the data. But on the other hand, we need to know what to do with the data. We need to know what kind of talents do we need. Everyone says we need talents, we don't have enough for talents, but do we know which talents are needed? What are we looking for? Also, how do we cope with the data that we have, with all these cognitive technologies? How can we liquefy the data? Just to have data itself doesn't make the business running. It's about the innovation. Again, the example we just saw, it's about innovation. It's about thinking in new perspectives. And it's not magic, as you just saw. It's real. It's nothing about magic. And there, I would love to show you a quote of our Chancellor, Walter Thurnhill. Listen to him.
No one rightly knows what is meant by artificial intelligence. My favorite definition is still that artificial intelligence is the art of making computers that behave like the ones in movies.
I really like that one. This is exactly what makes people be afraid of what's going on. This is what people think about superintelligence. Terminators, science fiction. This is not our life. What we just saw, it's not sci-fi, it's real. Where we are, actually, is narrow AI. This is what we're looking at. This is the reason why we're normally talking about cognitive technologies and not about artificial intelligence. I would rather talk about augmented intelligence than artificial. It's single purpose. Superintelligence, this is even not here in research. It's far away, and this is actually what makes us being afraid of. And I would also be afraid of thinking of that this would come in decades. Where we have certain experience, like AlphaGo, is within the reinforced learning. So looking at what we're having today, there is already 90% done. But now, there are about 90% to go to see how can we improve life, health, business, everything with the technology that we develop with the new possibilities. So thinking of that, I would say, is it unstoppable? Where will we get? Where are the boundaries? What are the questions that we need to raise? I'm a mother of 2 teenager girls, and I actually like to cook, but what I really don't like to do is the household. And cooking, it's more something for the weekend. So if I would have a robo-nanny, believe me, I would be the first person to say, I'm going to be the guinea pig for the robo-nanny. Please make sure the table is laid at 7 o'clock, food is ready. I want to have quality time with my family and not rushing around cooking and laying the table. So imagine once somehow the fridge didn't talk to the grocery shop, the robo-nanny opens the fridge and it's empty. His target is actually to have dinner prepared, ready at 7 o'clock. So he's looking around. Why are you guys laughing? In China, nobody would laugh. And this is exactly the point. Where are the ethical boundaries? First of all, who defines the ethical boundaries? So one of the most important things for us is, on one hand, we have technology, but the most important thing is us, the human beings. And we need to make sure that we use the technology towards our own advantages. So we have the emotional intelligence on the one hand, what is definitely remaining with the human being. We have the robots, we have the algorithms, which are perfect to support us, to make our life easier and especially healthier and also more secure. So it's not about human versus machine. It's actually about human and machine. So we need to shift from technology literal people to people literal technology. To do that and to be innovative and to be open-minded for new ideas, like the one we just saw with the factory of the future, I really love it. We need to break beliefs. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we have to make the humans redundant. We're talking mostly about tasks being taken over by algorithms, because computers are faster, have a higher quality, and repetitive tasks or evaluation of data is something that computers do much better than we human. So, looking at the fleet of vessels, for example, today, it's not only about the economy, it's also about the ecological perspective. So here we have one example that shows that by using data of stream, of weather, and so on and so forth, you can actually calculate the way a vessel needs to go to not only be probably faster and more safe, but also to save fuels. Another one, some of you may know Mobileye, is actually one of the biggest exits we ever had. Mobileye is a very easy idea. It's an Israeli startup. They actually sold small little cameras for $40 to the drivers of any kind of cars or trucks. And the only thing what they did is actually they gave alert. Be careful from right, there is a car coming. Be careful left, you don't see the child running. So what they did, actually, they collect all this data. Now, the data as them itself is not valuable. But what they did, they were able actually to tell the cities how to build and rebuild the infrastructure, telling them, hey, here you need another red light, for example, or here you need a mirror because we had to alert a lot of people by not seeing kids running into the streets. So we can have a lot more about business, about economy, but it's not only about economy, it's only about AI for good. Now, most of the people think like, okay, either we have economy or we have something for good, whether it's AI or something else. How can we combine that? And again, this example shows a very, very nice way how you can combine. We have a huge responsibility. If you look at that, we have 3 million people live than less than 2.5 bags a day. We have a lot of problems to solve in this world. And this is why we do have the 17 sustainable goals. I just want to quickly show you some of them were actually, with cognitive technology, we were able to solve or to support certain areas and problems. For example, here, very short, more light means more electricity, means less poverty. So you can actually dedicate where you have more poverty and where you have to do something. Here, Indonesia is like sugarcane. You have a lot of different farmers. It's a total fragmented field. You need to know when and where which sugarcane is ready to take to the mill, and you don't want to have actually a logistic traffic jam by bringing the sugarcane into the mill. So there's a lot of efficiency that you can make out of it. You make sure that actually the sugarcane is not being taken too early, and then you can't use it, not being taken too late, and that it's destroyed. So it's also an efficiency for the farmer that actually he can rely on a better business. Another one is glaucoma. Example in India, a lot of people has glaucoma. The point is that it's a very, very complex way to dedicate whether you have glaucoma. Now, these guys found out by image recognition, with a very easy way, how to detect the glaucoma very early, more or less with an app. That means that, for example, in India, the people doesn't need to travel for about 6 hours to get to the next hospital to get their evaluation about potential glaucoma. So these are some examples where you see how actually the AI for economy and AI for good goes hand in hand and can support the human being. And it's not about making people redundant. It's not about making a doctor redundant. It's actually about supporting him by being able to have more information, better information about the single person. And on the other hand, those persons who are affected, they have a chance to be treated early enough. So what are actually the next steps that we see, talking about real practical use cases? One of the biggest challenges we have is we have to onboard the people. It's a lot about expectation management, reality check. As I said at the beginning, no sci-fi and no Terminators. It's about how can we implement the technology to support the humankind. And therefore, one of the most important things is we need to manage fear. And this is one of the sentences that Sergey said in his opening speech. People doesn't like violence, and people at the end also doesn't like fear. So what we always say, why wait? Act now and share for success. Thanks a lot.